My brother didn't yell. He smiled, the kind of smile that knows it has an audience. Crystal lights washed the ballroom in soft gold, forks rested, glasses paused midair. My brother leaned into the microphone like he owned the air. "Some people are built to lead," he said. "Others are built to work." A beat. "And that's okay, the world needs hands." Laughter followed. Light, polite, surgical. I was seated near the back half, hidden by a pillar that smelled faintly of lemon polish. My chair wobbled when I shifted. Cheap rental. Like me, apparently. That was the first snap. Not loud, just a quiet internal click, like a breaker flipping. If you've ever had family treat you like you don't matter, if you've ever been talked about like you weren't in the room, go ahead and like this, subscribe, stay. These stories don't get told unless someone listens. My brother Evan kept talking. Strategy, growth, vision. Words that floated shiny and hollow. The screen behind him glowed with charts no one questioned. Applause came on cue. My father stood at the edge of the stage, hands folded behind his back, chin lifted. Proud. My mother sat front row, legs crossed, nodding at the right beats. She didn't turn around. Not once. I stared at the tablecloth. White. Too white. A phone buzzed beside a half-empty water glass. Click. Screen lights up. Someone texts someone else about dessert. Evan finished. The applause swelled. He stepped aside and my parents joined him. My father took the mic. "We're proud of you, son," he said. "You've always understood how things work." His eyes drifted briefly to the back of the room. Not everyone does. That was the second snap. A server slid past me whispering, "Excuse me," like I might shatter if he spoke up. My mother handed Evan a velvet folder. Thick, official. Keys followed. Metal flashed under the lights. Applause again. I didn't clap. My hands stayed flat on my lap. Nails pressed crescents into my palm. My father looked straight at me. "Claire," he said. Calm, cold. "Come up here." The room stilled. 80 people turned as one. The piano track kept playing too cheerful, like it didn't know what was coming. I stood. Slowly. My knees felt hollow. My shoes clicked against the marble floor, each step too loud. I could hear the dishwasher behind the bar hiss and drain. Plates clinked. Somewhere a phone camera clicked. On stage, the lights were warmer, exposing. My father held out a single sheet of paper and a pen. "Just sign," he said. "Let's not drag this out. Legal language. Dense. Words like waiver and interest and irrevocable." I didn't need a law degree to understand. Evan leaned toward me, voice low. "Don't embarrass yourself." That was the third snap. My mother leaned into the mic, her smile fixed. "We all have our strengths, Claire. You should be proud of yours. Proud of 12-hour shifts, of alarms screaming, of knowing exactly how fast a mistake could kill someone." I picked up the pen. It felt heavier than it should have. Silence pressed in. The tip hovered over the paper. Then a door opened. No announcement, no rush, just the soft creak of hinges and measured footsteps on carpet. An older man entered, gray suit, no tie, a briefcase worn smooth at the edges. He walked with purpose, not permission. My mother's hand flew to her necklace. My father's jaw tightened. "Excuse me," the man said. Calm, clear. "This can't wait." Murmurs rippled. Phones rose. He set the briefcase down and opened it. "My name is Arthur Bell," he said. "I represented Eleanor Holloway, my grandmother." Evan laughed once, sharp. "This is inappropriate." Arthur didn't look at him. He looked at me. "Put the pen down," he said. I did. The sound it made against the podium was small, final. My mother stepped forward, smile cracking. "This is a family matter." Arthur nodded. It was. Until someone tried to erase it. He lifted a tablet. The screen glowed. Click. The image behind us flickered to life, my grandmother's living room. Her armchair by the window. Oxygen line. Eyes still sharp. "If you're watching this," she said, "then someone thought they could outsmart me." The room froze. Evan's face drained of color. "I know who understands responsibility," my grandmother continued. who understands consequences, who knows what it means when lives are on the line. My throat tightened. I didn't move. Claire gets everything. No qualifiers, no conditions. The video ended. The screen went black. For a heartbeat, no one breathed. My mother turned to me. Her voice dropped, stripped of polish. "You're remembering it wrong." That was the fourth snap. I looked at her, really looked. She leaned closer, teeth clenched behind her smile. "Don't do this to us. Do this." As if I hadn't spent years shrinking so they wouldn't have to see me. Arthur laid the documents out neat and patient. Seals, dates, stamps, the kind of paper that doesn't argue. Evan hissed, "You planned this." I met his eyes. "No," I said. "I survived it." My father finally spoke, voice shaking. "We did what was best. Gaslighting, clean, familiar." I thought of my mornings, the alarm vibrating at 4:45, coffee black and fast, the refinery lights glowing like a second sunrise, the weight of my helmet, the click of sensors, the discipline of not panicking when something goes wrong. Nobody applauded that. Arthur cleared his throat. "This transfer is immediate." Phones came up again. Click, click. The dishwasher hissed behind the bar. Someone dropped a fork. My mother shook her head and laughed too loud. She doesn't even know what to do with that kind of responsibility. I felt it then, the switch. Quiet, clean, the pressure equalizing. I took one step forward. "I didn't ask for this," I said. "Steady, but I'm not giving it back." My mother stared at me, eyes bright with something sharp. "You're tearing this family apart," she said. I held her gaze. "No," I said. "You did, years ago." She exhaled through her nose, the smile gone. Then she said the line that broke it clean in two. "Don't worry. You'll still always be the help." I didn't go home that night, not right away. I sat in my car in the parking garage while the valet line buzzed upstairs, engines purring, laughter spilling out in waves. My dashboard clock blinked 11:42. The air smelled like hot concrete and salt from the ocean drifting in through the open ramps. I rested my forehead against the steering wheel. Silence. Thick. Private. No one came looking for me. No text. No call. Not even a "where did you go?" That wasn't new. My life had always existed outside the frame they liked to show. The next morning my alarm went off at 4:45 a.m., sharp. Same vibration. Same sound. I didn't flinch. I never do. I rolled out of bed, feet finding the floor before my eyes fully opened. The apartment was quiet, except for the hum of the refrigerator. One bedroom, clean, bare, no photos on the walls, nothing to explain. I brewed coffee, black, no sugar. The kettle clicked off. I poured. Steam rose, then disappeared. That was my life. Things appeared, did their job, then vanished. By 5:20, I was in my car headlights cutting through the dark, the city still asleep, traffic lights blinking yellow like tired eyes. I drove past billboards advertising condos I would never tour, vacations I would never post. At the refinery gate, my badge beeped. Green light. The security guard nodded without smiling. We never talked. We didn't need to. Inside, the air changed. Oil, metal, heat. The sound of machinery waking up deep layered alive. I pulled on my helmet, gloves, steel-toed boots. Click. Strapped tight. My world ran on clicks. I walked my route, panel to panel, gauge to gauge, pressure steady, temperature holding. The numbers told me everything. They always had. By 6 Helgrode a.m., the conveyor belts were alive. Motors humming, radios crackling with clipped instructions. Someone laughed near the loading dock. Someone else swore. Life moved. I stood at my station and watched. People thought that meant nothing. Standing. Watching. They didn't understand that watching was how disasters were prevented. I knew every vibration by feel, every abnormal whine, every smell that meant trouble was thinking about starting. At 8:17, a junior tech rushed past me, phone pressed to his ear, laughing. He almost missed a reading. I caught it, tapped the panel, adjusted the valve. No announcement, no applause. At noon, I ate standing up, a sandwich wrapped in foil. The break room smelled like burnt coffee and cleaning spray. The TV mounted in the corner played a talk show with the volume too low to matter. I scrolled my phone. A photo of Evan popped up. Rooftop meeting, sunglasses. City behind him. Caption, big moves. Bigger future. My mother had commented with a heart. My father added a fire emoji. I locked the screen. At 2:46 p.m., the methane sensor chirped once. Soft. Wrong. Most people wouldn't have noticed. It was barely louder than the machines. I noticed. I froze. Listened. The sound came again. Faint. A whisper. I didn't shout. I didn't run. I moved. I hit the emergency cutoff with my elbow while my other hand twisted the secondary valve. Pressure dropped. Slowly. Too slowly. Someone yelled my name. Someone else panicked. I held the valve down, arms, burning jaw clenched. The gauge crept lower, one tick at a time. When it finally hit 0, the room exhaled. 47 people walked out that night. I washed my hands in the sink afterward. The water ran black at first, oil and dust swirling down the drain. I watched it until it ran clear. That was the moment something in me settled. Not pride, not relief, just certainty. The next day, my phone filled with messages from coworkers, thank yous, photos of kids. One man sent a picture of a birthday cake and wrote, "You gave me another one of these. I saved them all. I didn't tell my family." What would I have said? Hey, I did something that mattered. They wouldn't have known what to do with that. A week later, a plaque showed up. Safety Excellence. My name engraved small at the bottom. They bolted it above my station. It gathered dust. No one came to see it. On Sundays, I sometimes called my aunt. Susan. She worked nights at a hospital 2 hours north. She always answered no matter how tired she was. "You okay?" she asked once. "Yeah," I said. She paused. She always paused. "You don't have to be invisible to be strong." I changed the subject. That night overtime was canceled. I drove home in the dark, radio off, windows down. My phone buzzed at a red light. Family group chat, a link. Evan featured in Business Weekly. I didn't open it. I went upstairs, reheated leftovers, and ate at the counter. The dishwasher clicked on. Plates clattered softly inside. The rhythm was familiar, reliable. I stood there longer than necessary, hands resting on the cool stone, listening to the machine do its job. That was when I understood something I'd never said out loud. They didn't ignore my life because it was small. They ignored it because it didn't make noise, because it didn't sparkle, because there was nothing to show. I turned off the kitchen light and went to bed. The alarm vibrated again at 4:45. I woke up before it finished its second buzz. Ready, invisible, and still standing. The envelope arrived on a Tuesday. Not certified, no tracking. Just thick paper, and my name typed clean across the front, like whoever sent it knew exactly where I'd be when I opened it. I found it wedged halfway into my mailbox when I got home after a double shift. The hallway smelled like bleach and old carpet. Someone upstairs was watching TV too loud. I stood there longer than I should have, staring at the return address. Susan Miller, my aunt. I didn't open it right away. I set my keys down, kicked off my boots, washed my hands at the kitchen sink until the water ran hot and my skin stung. Only then did I sit at the table and slide a finger under the flap. Inside were copies, lots of them. Letters, reports, forms stamped with seals I recognized from safety audits and incident reviews. My name appeared again and again, always in the same small, precise font. Never bold, never highlighted. At the bottom of the stack was a folded note in Susan's handwriting. "You never bragged. Someone had to remember for you." That was the first punch. The second came when I read the first report. It was the methane incident, the one they called contained, the one that never made the news. Diagrams, timelines, witness statements, 47 signatures, all dated the same night. My signature sat at the bottom, calm, straight, like my hand hadn't been shaking when I signed it. I kept reading. There were internal emails, managers debating costs, one line circled in red pen. Replacing the valve now would delay production. Another email followed, sent 2 minutes later. Claire's intervention prevented catastrophic loss. Catastrophic loss. That was the word they used when lives almost disappeared. I flipped the page. A recommendation letter from the State Safety Board. A nomination form for a regional award I never knew existed. A funding proposal for equipment upgrades approved anonymously through a donor-advised fund. I froze. The numbers matched. Dates, transfers. Susan had known. Somehow she'd known everything. I sat back in my chair, the cheap wood creaking under my weight. The refrigerator hummed. The dishwasher ticked as it cooled from the earlier cycle. Normal sounds. Grounding. Buried things have weight. They press upward. My phone buzzed. Family group chat. A photo of Evan shaking hands with a man in a tailored suit. Caption, proud moment. Legacy continues. My mother replied first. So deserved. I locked the screen. The next envelope came 3 days later. This one didn't pretend to be casual. Ivory paper. Embossed seal. Heavy. The kind of envelope that assumes compliance. It was an invitation. Formal language, flowery, mandatory undertones hidden in polite script. We request your presence at a private family gathering to commemorate Evan's appointment. I laughed once, short, dry, gathering. The last time they used that word, they'd told me to sit quietly and smile while Evan explained why my job didn't count. I folded the invitation and set it on the counter. I didn't throw it away. That night Susan called. I didn't mean to blindside you, she said. You didn't, I replied. Silence stretched between us. She let it. They're planning something, she said finally. Paperwork. Control. They always do. I pictured my father's hands, the way he slid documents across tables without looking at the person on the other side. I know I said, "You don't owe them anything," Susan said. I looked at the stack of documents spread across my table. My life. Flattened. Filed. Proven. I know that too. After we hung up, I stood by the window and watched headlights crawl along the street below. Someone laughed outside. Someone slammed a car door. Somewhere a dog barked. I thought about the plaque bolted above my station, dust collecting on my name. I thought about Evan's words. Some people are built to work. He wasn't wrong. He just didn't know what work could do. The day of the gathering arrived wrapped in perfect weather. Blue sky, salt air. The kind of day people photographed and pretended meant something. I dressed simply. Dark slacks, a pressed blouse, no jewelry. Nothing that asked for attention. Before I left, I tucked Susan's documents into a plain folder and slid it into my bag. The weight was comforting. Solid. The venue was smaller than the gala. Private dining room. Linen again. Candles. A long table set for 8. My parents were already there. Evan stood near the window phone in hand, laughing at something I couldn't hear. He saw me and stopped. "Didn't think you'd show," he said. "I was invited," I replied. My mother kissed my cheek, quick and distant. "You look fine." My father gestured toward my seat. "End of the table." "Of course." Dinner passed in fragments. Small talk. Wine poured. Plates cleared with soft clinks. Evan dominated the conversation. Deals, meetings, people I didn't know and didn't need to. Halfway through dessert, my father cleared his throat. "Let's handle this now," he said. A folder slid across the table toward me. "Different paper, same intention. This just formalizes things my mother said. It's for everyone's peace of mind." I opened it. Waivers. Transfers. Language designed to look reasonable while taking everything quietly. I didn't speak. Evan leaned back in his chair, arms crossed. "It's not personal," he said. "It's just business." That was the third punch. I reached into my bag. Susan's folder landed on the table with a dull thud. Not dramatic. Heavy enough to be heard. My father frowned. "What's this? Buried things," I said. They stared at me like I'd spoken another language. I stood. Slow. Controlled. "I've spent my life doing work no one wanted to see," I said. "But it's all here now." My mother laughed sharp. "You're being dramatic. Gaslighting. Old. Predictable." I met her eyes. "No," I said. "I'm being documented." The room went quiet. Somewhere in the kitchen, a plate shattered. No one moved to clean it up. Evan scoffed. "You think paperwork makes you important?" I didn't answer him. I looked at my father. "You taught me to read contracts," I said. "You just didn't think I'd ever use that skill against you." His mouth opened, closed. My mother stood abruptly, chair scraping. "You're ruining this!" I picked up my bag. "No," I said. "I'm uncovering it." As I walked out, her voice followed me down the hall, tight, shaking, familiar. "Don't forget where you come from." I didn't turn around because I knew exactly where I came from. They'd just spent years trying to bury it. The room wasn't built for the truth. It was built for comfort. Soft lighting, muted colors, walls padded with money and manners. A place where problems were discussed quietly, then buried under dessert and polite smiles. I stood at the end of the table with Susan's folder in my bag and my spine straight. My father recovered first. He always did. "This isn't the place," he said, voice calm practiced. "We can discuss this later. Privately." Later meant never. Privately meant erased. "I'm discussing it now," I said. Evan laughed under his breath. "You really don't know how this works." That was the moment I realized something important. They thought truth needed permission. My mother gestured toward the staff hovering near the doorway. "You're making people uncomfortable." "Good." I reached into my bag and pulled out the first document. The paper slid against the tablecloth with a dry sound. "This is the incident report," I said, "the one you said never existed. My father didn't touch it." Susan stood up beside me. She hadn't spoken yet. She didn't need to. Her presence was enough. Calm, steady. The kind of person who had seen worse than this and survived it without applause. Evan leaned forward, irritation flashing across his face. "You saved a shift. Congratulations." I looked at him. Really looked. "No," I said. I stopped a chain reaction. I laid out the next page. Diagrams, timestamps, names. This valve failed at 2:44 a.m. If it had ruptured, the entire east wing would have gone. 47 people were on that floor. Silence. The candles flickered. Somewhere behind the wall, a dishwasher cycled on. The steady rush of water sounded like distant rain. My mother shook her head. "You're exaggerating." Gaslighting again. They reached for it like muscle memory. I placed another document down. "Independent review," I said. "State certified." Filed. My father finally picked it up. His eyes moved fast. Too fast. He knew what seals looked like. He knew when paper didn't lie. Susan spoke then, her voice even. "I was called after the incident. As next of kin." "You weren't." My mother's lips parted. "Why would they call you Susan?" Didn't raise her voice. "Because Claire was listed as the responsible party." That word landed hard. Responsible. Evan pushed back his chair. "This doesn't change anything." I turned to him. "You built your reputation on stories I said. I built mine on outcomes." His jaw tightened. I pulled out the nomination letter next. Then the funding approval. Then the transfer records. "Anonymous donor," my father muttered, reading. I met his eyes. That was me. The room shifted. Not dramatically, not explosively, like weight moving from one side of a scale to the other. My mother laughed, sharp and brittle. "You expect us to believe you funded safety upgrades out of a technician's salary?" "No," I said. "I expect you to read the numbers." She didn't. My father did. The color drained from his face. Susan reached into her purse and pulled out one more thing, a small envelope, old, worn. She slid it across the table. "This is from your mother," she said, nodding toward my father. "Written 2 weeks before she died." My heart kicked once. Hard. I hadn't known about that. My father stared at the envelope like it might bite him. Susan didn't rush. She never rushed. He opened it. His hands shook. The room felt smaller, the air heavier, the truth pressing in from all sides. Evan scoffed. "This is manipulation." Susan looked at him. "This is consequence." My father swallowed. She changed her mind. Susan shook her head. "No. You changed the story." My mother stood abruptly, chair legs shrieking against the floor. "This is insane. We're done here." She turned to leave. That's when the door opened. Not softly, not politely. 2 men stepped inside, suits darker, faces unreadable. One held a tablet, the other a leather folder. The temperature dropped. "Richard Holloway," one of them asked. My father nodded slow. "We're here regarding a provisional hold on assets pending review." Evan laughed too loud. "You can't be serious." The man tapped the tablet. The screen glowed. Numbers scrolled. "We are." My mother grabbed the edge of the table. "This is a mistake." The man didn't look at her. "This review was triggered by an attempted transfer under duress," he said, "which we were notified of 15 minutes ago." All eyes turned to me. I hadn't made the call. Susan had. I hadn't needed to ask. My father's mouth opened. Closed. Evan stepped forward. "This is my company." The second man spoke for the first time. His voice was flat, bored. "Not anymore." The tablet turned. Account names, status updates, red indicators blinking beside familiar words. Suspended, frozen, pending audit. Evan lunged for it. A security hand appeared instantly firm on his arm. "Get off me!" Evan snapped. My mother screamed his name. The sound cut through the room like glass breaking. I stood still. The dishwasher clicked off behind the wall. Silence rushed in to fill the space. The man with the folder opened it. "There's also an inquiry into misrepresented charitable contributions." Evan's face went white. What my mother whispered. I didn't look at her. I looked at the table, at the documents laid out neatly, at years of buried truth finally breathing. Susan stepped closer to me. Her hand brushed my sleeve. Solid. "Grounding." My father sank into his chair. The man continued. "Effective immediately, all decision-making authority is paused." Evan's voice cracked. "She's just a worker." I turned to him. "That's where you're wrong," I said. "I work." The man nodded once, like that settled it. My mother's voice broke when she spoke again. Soft, frantic. "Claire, please, you don't understand what you're doing." I met her eyes. "I understand exactly what I'm doing," I said. "I'm not asking for permission." The men gathered their materials. Efficient, impersonal. As they turned to leave, my father called out, "Wait!" They didn't. The door closed behind them with a quiet final click. No applause, no music, just the truth standing in the room like it had always belonged there. My mother looked at me then, really looked. Her voice was thin, stripped. "You always did this," she said. "You make things difficult." That was the sentence she chose. Not "I'm sorry." Not "I was wrong." Just that. I picked up my bag. "No," I said. I made them visible. She stared at me, eyes wet, mouth trembling. And then she said the one thing that proved everything I already knew. "You should have stayed quiet." The noise didn't follow me home. That surprised me. I expected echoes, shouting phones, buzzing headlines, explanations demanded. I expected the past to chase me down the hallway, grab my sleeve, ask for one more chance to argue. It didn't. Silence met me at the door. Clean. Undramatic. I set my bag down, took off my shoes, turned on the kitchen light. The bulb hummed once, then steadied. I poured a glass of water and drank it slowly, like my body needed proof that things still worked the way they always had. I didn't replay the night. I didn't rehearse comebacks I never said. I went to bed. The next morning my alarm vibrated at 4:45 like it always had. Habit is stubborn. I lay there for a second, listening to it buzz against the nightstand, then turned it off before it finished its second cycle. For the first time in years, I didn't have to get up. I still did. Coffee, black. The kettle clicked off. Steam rose and disappeared. I stood at the counter, hands wrapped around the mug, staring out at a street that didn't know my name and didn't need to. That was when I decided something simple. I wasn't going to explain myself, not to them, not to anyone. The Holloway Safety Initiative started small, a borrowed conference room, folding chairs, a whiteboard that squeaked when I wrote on it. No banners, no press release, no ribbon cutting, just workers, men and women with tired eyes and calloused hands, people who knew the sound a machine made right before it went wrong, people who understood risk without needing it translated. I spoke plainly. I showed diagrams, timelines, real failures, near misses. I let the numbers speak. I let the silence after them do the rest. They listened. They always did. Word spread the way real things spread, not online, not flashy. Shift to shift, plant to plant. Someone tells someone else. This actually helps. We trained crews before dawn, after midnight, on weekends, in rooms that smelled like oil and coffee and old paint. We practiced shutting valves blindfolded. We drilled evacuations until muscle memory kicked in faster than fear. Accident rates dropped. No one threw a party. I preferred it that way. The funding handled itself. Trusts released when milestones were met. Audits passed without ceremony. The money did what money is supposed to do when it isn't trying to be admired. Build, fix, protect. I never put my name on the door. Someone else tried once. I asked them to take it down. My family disappeared quietly. No calls, no texts, no accidental run-ins at the grocery store. Their names showed up once in an article I didn't read, then not at all. I heard through Susan that my father sold the house, that my mother downsized twice in a year, that Evan took a position far from any decision-making power under a boss who didn't care about his last name. I didn't ask questions. Silence isn't punishment. It's a boundary. My life narrowed in the best way. I moved into a smaller place near the water. Clean lines, light walls, nothing unnecessary. Mornings started with walking along the bay, the sound of waves hitting the seawall steady and indifferent. I cooked simple meals, pasta, vegetables, food that didn't pretend to be anything else. On Sundays, Susan came by. We sat on the balcony with coffee and watched boats drift past. Sometimes we talked about work, sometimes we didn't talk at all. The world didn't end when I stopped proving myself. It got quieter. There were moments rare sharp when something tried to pull me back. A headline, a mutual contact, a memory triggered by a song in a grocery store aisle. I didn't chase those moments. I let them pass. One afternoon, a trainee stayed behind after a session, younger than me, nervous. "How did you know you were right?" he asked. "I thought about it. I didn't," I said. "I just knew I could live with the outcome." That seemed to settle him. I still visit the refinery sometimes, not as an employee, as an advisor. I walk the floor with the same attention, the same respect. Machines don't care who you are. They care if you're paying attention. So do people. The plaque with my name on it is gone now. Someone took it down during renovations. I didn't ask where it went. I know what I did. That's enough. At night, the apartment goes dark, except for the city glow creeping in through the windows. I sit with a book or nothing at all. The dishwasher clicks. The refrigerator hums. Normal sounds. Honest sounds. No applause. No stage. Just a life that fits. I don't hate my family. Hate takes energy. I prefer precision. They chose visibility over responsibility. I chose the opposite. And in the end, that choice did all the talking. There are people who don't need to be seen. They just need to know they did the right thing.